Hi, I'm Harper.
Ciao Amela.
Have you ever realized that you were making a big mistake when cooking your favorite food and missing out on deliciousness? I certainly have. Even before I met Ava, I used to eat pasta every single day. I thought I knew everything there was to know about cooking pasta. Turns out I was making about every single mistake you could possibly make. So today, Ava is gonna take us through the top 10 mistakes that I used to make, and maybe her tips will help anyone else out there who wants to up their pasta game.
The first mistake that people make is selecting the wrong pasta. And how you can tell if a pasta is good or is bad? One of the, indicator?
Indicators, yeah.
Indicator. One of the indicators of a very good pasta is the color. If you go in a store and you see a very yellow pasta, just run away because that color is an indicator that the pasta is very bad. If you see a pasta that instead is more white, you can be sure that that kind of pasta is bronze cut. It has a very long, we say seccatura, asciugatura, how do you say?
It's been dried longer?
Yes, which means that that pasta is a very good pasta. Another indicator of a very good pasta is also the time of cooking, because if you find a spaghetti that cooks in 5 minutes, it means that the spaghetti is very bad. If you find a spaghetti that maybe cooks in 14, 15 minutes, or like the best one in Italy that it takes 17 minutes to be done, you know that this pasta is good.
So in other words, you shouldn't do what I used to do, which is specifically look for the quickest cooking pasta possible. Oh, it cooks quicker, that's better. Very efficient. We always tend to pick on Barilla. Not that it's uniquely bad, but it's I think a pasta that everyone thinks because it's Italian that it's one of the better pastas.
Not every pasta that is made in Italy is good. No, we have bad pasta too.
It's worth noting also that Barilla has like an upscale line called Collezione, and we haven't actually tried it, but it looks better.
And also in Italy they had to rebrand their whole product, and what you find now in Italy is a Barilla in a red package, and this is a very good pasta because they restart to make the pasta as they used to make. Thanks Barilla, we love you.
One other thing I should mention is that it's not always that the most expensive pasta is the best. Often we will find some gem like Molisana pasta or something, and it was like the cheapest one on the shelf. So don't think that the most expensive one is always the best one.
The second mistake is breaking the pasta. Why are you
Nothing.
If we Italians make that size of spaghetti, it's because we discovered that that is the right size of pasta. We have a ton of short pasta, so if you don't want long pasta, just buy the short one. Now, we have few exceptions in Italy. For example, sometimes, yes, when we need to put the spaghetti in a soup because we eat with a spoon. But spaghetti, 99% of the case, are meant to be eaten with a fork, not with a spoon. So keep them long.
You also do have some pastas though that are specifically meant to be broken.
Yes, and it's my favorite pasta. This is the candele, but they are long to be like 1 meter, so you don't have a pot of 1 meter. But this pasta is meant to be broken. It's meant to be broken, so you can if you really want to break a pasta, break that one. Break that one.
Okay, so then if you have a bunch of spaghetti and it doesn't quite fit in your pot, what's the solution?
If you don't have a taller pot, what you need to do is put the spaghetti there and wait 30 seconds, because naturally the spaghetti, they will be more soft. The part in the water will soften. So you easily...
But it's spelled soften.
Sì, vabbè, it doesn't matter, you understand. We are talking about pasta, not about grammar.
We're pasta grammar.
You wait 30 seconds, naturally the pasta will soften, and you can gently press, paying attention to not break the spaghetti. Mistake number 3 is not using enough water. If you need to cook, I don't know, like 1 kilo of pasta, you can't use 1 liter of water. You need to understand that the pasta needs to float in the water. It needs to make this dance. No, because showing people how the pasta should dance, they understand. So use the right amount of water for the right amount of pasta. Usually the ratio should be 1 liter of water, 100 grams of pasta. Then, do you really need to measure your water? No, but just use your own judgment. You don't want half kilos of pasta in 1 liter of water, because you can understand that they stick together, they attach, they become mushy.
What about people, they add some olive oil to the water to keep it from sticking?
This is like olive oil and water, they don't mix together. We know it's the basic chemistry that they stay separate. So if you put the olive oil, you just waste olive oil. So skip the olive oil, just use more water.
I'm sure you remember when we first met, I would cook in a tiny little saucepan an entire box of pasta. It was like so crowded in there. And it did, now that I think about it, it did stick quite a bit. I had to stir the entire time just to keep it from sticking.
Mistake number 4 is don't use enough salt. If you don't salt your pasta doesn't taste.
I think people really are shocked to see how much salt you add into the water.
And don't think that all this salt goes in your pasta. No, most of the salt they remain in the water, so the pasta will keep naturally the salt that needs to be tasty, because pasta is smart.
Truth be told, most people don't even see all the salt because, okay, I edit the videos and just for the sake of like keeping it down, I don't show like every second of every process Ava does. So like when she puts the salt in, maybe I'll show her put like 1 or 2 handfuls, and usually there's like a couple more handfuls of salt that go in. It's quite a bit of salt, and it seems like a lot if you're watching it, but if you taste that water afterwards, it's salty. As Ava said, all the salt isn't absorbed into the pasta. But then why don't you save some salt and just salt the pasta at the end?
Because you're not doing a salad, because you're cooking pasta, and if you put the salt on the pasta when it's ready, when it's cooked, the salt doesn't melt, so you have a small bite that it's very, very salty, and all the rest that it has no taste. So the salt goes in the water the salt disappears, and the pasta absorbs what it needs naturally.
I always knew that you had to salt pasta water, but I would just put in like a pinch, just a little pinch of salt. And I realized now that that was doing literally nothing. Although actually I was using so little water that maybe it was enough.
Mistake number 5 is not tasting the pasta. This is a rule about all the food that you are going to cook. You need to taste it, otherwise you don't know if you need something more or maybe it's ready or not. And this applies also to pasta, because to understand if the salt is enough, you should try your pasta.
Yeah, so that's another thing with the salt, is that often, you know, a few minutes before the pasta is done, I'll see you taste it and then add more salt into the water. Like that's the point when you readjust if needed. And that's like it's a very basic cooking concept, but I think a lot of people, myself very much included, sort of think that pasta is immune to that. I don't know, like just because it's like a basic thing and I'm just boiling the pasta, like they don't think that like, you need to like season it and taste it and make sure it tastes good.
It needs to taste good, because I think that the pasta is good when also if you eat by itself, it has a flavor in your mouth. If it doesn't taste, it needs salt. It doesn't need garlic or onion, but it needs salt. Mistake number 6 is overcooking your pasta.
So you don't like it when pasta is just cooked into a sort of mush that dissolves in your mouth?
When you take the pasta out of the water, it doesn't mean that your pasta needs to be completely cooked, because it depends what you are going to do with your pasta. For example, if you do a pasta al forno, you don't want to follow the rule of the minutes on the box, because then it will keep cooking in the oven. Personally, because I really like pasta al dente, more on al dente side than on cooked side, I take always my pasta at least 2 minutes before it's ready.
It's kind of like meat, how like if you're cooking a steak or something, you take it off the grill before it reaches the right temperature. My strategy was always just to religiously adhere to the timer instructions written on the box and just set a timer, and just the moment that thing was done, it's just like, okay, pasta's done, it's good to go. Seems to be most pasta dishes. You take it out of the water, cook it in the pan. You can always extend that cooking time. There's really no harm in taking it out a little bit too early, but if you take it out too late, then it's overcooked and ruined.
Mistake number 7 is throwing away the pasta water. Now, I don't want to say blasphemy, but let's be honest here. Pasta water can be like the olive water. That water is what makes your pasta creamy without cream. You can add that water to your sauce, to the pasta when it's cooking with your sauce.
The default method that I always did was you put a colander in the sink and you just take the pot of pasta and dump it all out and then put the pasta back into the pot or whatever. It kind of blew my mind when I started to have you cooking pasta for me, and you would always, almost always, we'll get to that in a second, you would take the pasta just directly out of the pot, either with like a big slotted spoon or tongs. Why haven't I been doing that for years? It's just, forget the pasta water for a second. It's just plain easier. Why would you dirty a colander if you don't need to? It's just another dish that you're filling the sink up with.
Man, Harper, sometimes we need to make the scola pasta.
To drain it in the sink. Yes, there are some times that you do that. When would those cases be?
When your sauce is a very liquid sauce. Your sauce has enough liquid to make the pasta keep cooking when you stir all together.
So like a tomato sauce, like a simple tomato sauce?
Like a simple tomato sauce, or when you make pasta and beans, my mother's style, because it's pretty liquidy. So then when you add with the pasta will absorb the liquid, so the balance is perfect.
The other time I feel like I've seen you do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if you're cooking a huge amount of pasta. Like, it's Sunday lunch back in Calabria, 30 people are gonna be over, you'll just dump it out because in that case you're dealing with so much pasta, it's easier.
Also because in that case we are seasoning our pasta with a ragu.
Well, that's true.
And you don't want to put water in your ragu after it cooked for 8 hours to reduce the water.
But even if you do drain it, you will usually save some pasta water, right? Just in case you need it.
At least a cup, because there is always time to throw it away after. Mistake number 8 is, how can I explain this point? I saw so many times in, I don't know, picture, on table, or wherever, this white pasta with on top some sauce. It's real that you cook pasta in the pot, you boil the pasta and you cook the sauce in another pan, pot, wherever you want. But then there will be a moment in which pasta and sauce, they need to be married, which means that they need to go together, to finish cooking together, to create the pasta dish. 2-3 minutes before your pasta is ready, you take the pasta, put in the pan, mix all together for 2-3 minutes if you need. This is the moment you will add pasta water to make your pasta creamier without dumping the cream, because you don't need it. Then you serve the pasta.
And you do that over heat. You're actually cooking it, not even just mixing it, although in some cases you do that.
Then we have always the exception.
They always have an
but
exception.
the basic rule
Like pesto.
the basic rule rule is take your pasta and put with your sauce and then serve it. Don't do that, you put the pasta in your plate, dump some sauce and then eat.
It was a big turning point for me to understand that the pasta itself is not the dish and sauce is just like a garnish or a condiment. Pasta is one ingredient in a whole dish. I know it sounds like silly to you, but that's how I think a lot of people think of pasta. It's like, I'm gonna cook pasta tonight, like what kind of condiment am I gonna put on it? And that's how sauce is thought of.
This thing to put pasta and sauce together, this process, in Italy actually it has a name. And we call it mantecatura, which means put like really the pasta. We do this also with the risotto, for example.
And even if like, so when I used to cook pasta before I met you, and you remember this, I would make a whole box of penne, and I would have these pre-made jars of, it was called Zia Italiana tomato sauce. Even using that pre-made sauce, my pasta would have been so much better if I had put that sauce in a pan or a pot, overheat, and cooked my pasta with it, as opposed to what I did, which was just the cold jar of sauce. Just splat. And we're not even done with what I did with this pasta. We're not even done. It gets worse.
Mistake number 9 is something that, believe me, it can kill the heart of a nonna, mama, of an Italian person, no matter what. Waiting to eat your pasta.
Oh.
Here, the rule is, when you have the pasta in front of you, when the pasta, no, not in front of you, when the pasta is still in the pot and is going to be in a plate, and the plate is in front of you, that is the moment in which you eat the pasta. You don't talk at the phone, you don't watch the TV, you don't go and, I don't know, do other stuff. That is the moment of your pasta, as soon as possible.
What happens if you don't eat it immediately?
One, the pasta gets cold, and there is nothing worse than think a carbonara cold. It's not edible. From a delicious things become poison. Second thing, as I said before, the pasta keep cooking, so you will end up having a mappazzone. It's something that really hurts me a lot when I see people, and I saw a bunch of people waiting to eat the pasta like one spaghetti at the time, and then talk and then drink. Eat the pasta, then you can do all the rest.
It's really funny when I visit Ava's family in Italy, because pasta is like the one dish where you never wait for everyone to be served before eating. Pasta is like just the moment it hits you, it doesn't matter if you're the only person at that table eating, you just immediately dig in. I can't tell you how many times I like got my plate of pasta, and as the guest I would get like the first plate, and then I'm like sitting there waiting for everyone to get their plate, and Mama Rose was like, "Buon appetito," like angrily, like, "Oh, what are you waiting for?"
Mistake number 10 is pasta leftovers. It can happen, it happened also in my family, when they cook a lot of pasta, that we have leftover pasta. And then what do you do with it? Rule number 1, for sure, you don't put in the microwave. I know.
I'll get to what I used to do.
You don't put the pasta in the microwave. Microwave and pasta, they are completely the opposite. They can't meet each other, never. So what you do? You recreate with the pasta that you have as a leftover another dish that will make your leftover pasta shine again. You give a second life to a pasta that from alive was death. Then you re-give life to pasta.
We actually have a whole video we made a while back on just ideas for how to use leftover pasta. You can watch it up here. What I used to do with my Zia Italiana pasta, as I said, I made a whole box of penne, but I didn't eat all of it at once. I would portion it out into little Tupperware containers for my meal prep, like a week's worth of pasta. Pour some of the sauce on, seal it up, hot and steaming, stick it in the fridge, and then over the course of a week, pull out these Tupperwares of stuck together solid pasta cubes and microwave them.
And here the question is, how is possible that you're still alive? How is possible?
It actually took a while before I even let Ava talk me into trying a different way to cook my pasta. Oh no, my way's so simple and cheap and easy. And you made pasta alla scarpariello. It changed my life. You cooked the right pasta in the correct way, you used the right amount of water, you salted it well, it was al dente, you made an incredible cherry tomato sauce that was so simple and took less time than the pasta took to cook. So it didn't take any more time than my opening the can of sauce. You cooked the sauce and the pasta together. It was perfect. It was so delicious. I think it was even cheaper than that sauce I was buying in the end. Totally changed my life. And then I started cooking that pasta every single day. And you can find the recipe down below. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you picked up a couple of tips. We're curious, did we miss any pasta mistakes? Let us know in the comments below. Maybe we'll do a second parter at some point.
This is the beginner level, then will be the intermediate, and then there will be the advanced. So we keep this first grammar lesson, pasta grammar lesson, basic.
Before we go, a quick shout out to a pasta grammarian who made a beautiful looking plate of pasta. Looks pretty good to me.
It looks very good.
If you enjoyed this video or if you learned something new, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, check out our merch store down below. You could have a wonderful pasta grammar t-shirt like Ava's got on. Thanks for checking it out. Help support the show. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Ciao.
Ciao. Have you heard, you haven't had zia italiana? It's so simple. You just buy it and you just put it on the spaghetti. It's just so easy. It's so simple. It's the best thing about Italian food is simplicity. So you just buy zia italiana, you just put it on the pasta, it's good to go. That's all you need. It's like they do in Venice.